the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
People buying now, paying later. That credit card debt increased $1.2 trillion last year. Collectively, we're looking at about $18 trillion of debt. And the bulk of that, 70%, is in the form of mortgage. But it's understandable. It leaves, nearly $5.5 trillion worth of debt to things like jet skis and zero-turn mowers and big screen TVs and whatever else you think you want to buy or that you think you need. Living with debt, you need to constantly get new credit cards. You just find yourself saying, I'm going to make the payment, and you don't because something unexpected happens. The car breaks down, the air conditioner goes, there's an accident, something happens, and before you know it, your credit cards get inflated, and the interest rate is high, and it's tough. It's also just a major worry because as those interest rates climb, and some people are paying 30% or more, if you can't pay off those sums, it just gets bigger. It gets larger. It gets hard. So, in the Bible and throughout Christian history, debt has always been a four-letter word, if you will. It's been figured a four-letter word. Debt is a form of slavery. But St. Paul says the same thing. He says, you should owe nothing to debt. Oh, no debt to any man is what he says, except the debt of love. God obviously doesn't want you enslaved. He doesn't want you enslaved to sin. He doesn't want you enslaved to greed. He doesn't want you enslaved to any vice. So being attached to the goods of the world or to the slavery of debt, it can be soul crushing. So the question is, how do you get out of it, right? How do you find freedom from it? How do you be the person that you were intended to be? Because it can interfere with your relationship, can interfere with your ability to tithe, to give alms, to serve the church, to help others, to fulfill the mission that God has called you to be. You're not meant to serve money. You're meant to serve God. I'm joined today by Jonathan Teixeira and his wife, Amanda. They worked on getting rid of their debt, and I invited him to stop by just to give you some great advice, maybe to help you on that journey to freedom. You know the numbers better than anybody. Credit card debt and personal debt in the country is really inflating. Give me your perspective on how we got to this point. What's the mindset that people are willing to use these tactics? And then, of course, we can always get into the fundamentals of how to get out of it. But give me your big picture view of that if you could.
I think a lot of folks find their way into a financial tough spot without really trying, right? It's really easy to kind of wander into a financial mess, and you can't wander out of it. Now, they're certainly helped along the way by, credit card companies, rising prices, right? So much we hear about student loan debt, and college tuition has inflated an incredible amount over the last decade or two, way outpacing everything else going up in price. And, administration people at the universities have just multiplied beyond any reasonable number. They are chasing students with all sorts of incredible, luxurious accommodations and facilities. And a lot of that ends up getting paid, especially if there is to be any sort of loan forgiveness. Now, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening, at least in the next couple of years, but it almost happened. And if that does go through at some point, then a lot of that's going to just get paid by us, by the taxpayers. And so it's a tricky situation, right? A lot of people, I don't think anybody's just going into things thinking, you know what? I want to struggle to pay off this burrito, or I want to just live the rest of my life in debt, so I'm going to take out these student loans. But so often, the cultural soup in which we're in, it just takes us right down that way.
It's so true. Let's go to Jane. Jane's in Pennsylvania. Great question for you. Jane, good afternoon.
Hi. Nice to speak with you. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
My question is, I kind of need some advice. I'm a single parent, and I adopted a son, and he went to a really great college. He got a Bachelor of Science degree, and I know he's well over $60,000 in debt.
Yeah.
However, he has caused himself some damage as far as getting a job by using illegal substances and totaling his vehicle that wasn't paid off.
That's tough.
So he is living at home, but I'm debt-free, really. And I just feel bad just seeing him have to work at maybe a job that I know he could make more, he could do better, but
Right.
I just don't feel like he's ever going to pay off his debt. And I feel guilty, kind of not helping him as much as maybe I could. But at the same time, I don't really want to go into debt helping him out. You know what I mean?
Certainly.
So what kind of advice could you give me on that kind of difficult subject?
Sure. Sure. What's holding, you were talking about, you'd love to see him, have this job that, puts to use kind of his education. He could get some more pay. What's keeping that situation from happening?
Well, this isn't a subject that we talk about much. He doesn't really want to talk much, but
Sure.
I believe he got pulled over for illegal substance abuse or using, while he's driving, but he's got to go through like a probationary period. But after that, I'm hoping he can get a job better than what he has now at a gas station.
Yeah, that's probably coming up on certain job interviews and things like that. That would definitely make it tough to get a job. All right. So, and first off, just say, hey, hello to another fellow Pennsylvanian. I grew up in PA and also am an adoptive parent. So all sorts of things lining up here. So I'm happy to take your call and to talk to you about this. So yes. Okay. He's in a bit of a pickle here. Yes. $60,000 in debt. And I'll say that's more and more the typical. These huge amounts of debt are unfortunately more and more common these days. When Amanda and I graduated, we went to state schools. Now I was out of state in New York, but we thought we had a lot. And I think back then we did, with about $25,000 all said. And that was a lot. And we had to work hard and be really strategic to get out of that. And these days, that's seemingly the bare minimum. So it is a tough spot. I feel like people are in a legitimately tougher spot starting out now than we were even, a decade ago. That said, you swooping in and certainly taking on debt yourself, putting yourself in a bad situation in order to help him alleviate his situation is probably not the best way to do things. We certainly want to be charitable. We want to be loving, and we want to set your son up for continued success, right? And hopefully he has, he's feeling these consequences, right? I think a little bit now, it just came to me this image of the prodigal son, right? When he's out, he's working, he's kind of hired himself out and he's, out giving the pigs their slop, wishing he could even eat that. And then he wants to come home. So hopefully, right, some of that's stirring in his heart. Okay, yeah, I want to get some stuff together. I want to get back on the horse. So to do that, okay, great. You've got him. It sounds like I think you mentioned he's living at home. So that's good. Probably bringing down his expenses. So lower expenses, that's always good for paying off debt and getting some things going in his life. Now, maybe, you could do a thing where he pays, a certain amount, a nominal amount of rent. And that could either be just to help things out, having him around the house more, or you could, depending on your situation, sock it away a little bit, probably without, maybe not without telling him.
Right.
And then, at a certain point, you can give that to him to pay off the debt or just throw it towards his debt, something like that. I know my folks, even growing up, did a thing like that with my brother. He kind of paid them rent for a little bit, but they just kind of kept it on the side. And then just helping him understand more and more about just how to handle the money. He probably got into some of this mess because he just didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Jane, can I ask you I hope it's not a personal question. I don't know if the father's in the relationship at all now or not. I mean, what's he think about this?
No, he's not in a relationship anymore. He's on his own, and I haven't seen him for a while.
So that makes it even harder for you. As I know as a mother, you really want to take care of your son. So there's a huge emotional weight here too. What final thoughts would you give to Jane? What are the practical steps she can really take to protect herself, maybe at the same time support her son? And we'll move on to a few more calls.
I think one of the best things that she, or really probably many of the folks listening right now in even a somewhat related situation would be just to help the person you love who's having some trouble, and maybe even yourself, just help them learn to understand money and just have a plan to make it work and how to use it. So we offer that. It's just our step-by-step. Getting out of debt is actually step number 6. There's 5 other things that I would love for people to do before that. Understanding money, budgeting, having that plan for their money, a little bit of emergency savings, things like that. But having a plan in place, it allows you to know that you're on the right track. You can see your progress, and you can really understand money with the mind of the church. That's what's so important. Money can touch every part of our life and our understanding of who we are and our relationships. So we want to make sure we're understanding it with the mind of the church, so we know what's being talked about when we hear money referred to in the scripture, which does happen quite a bit.
All right, we'll move along. Hey, Jane, hang in there. Keep praying too, okay? We'll offer a prayer for you. Jefferson, Oregon is next. It's the Salem area. Dina, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you. Thanks for waiting.
I just wanted to say, like, my son, who's a young adult, and he had to move back home too, he started doing this thing called daily pay, where basically a percentage of your paycheck, before you even get it, they, like, give to you. And it actually makes his life more difficult, because then when he gets his paycheck, he's thinking, oh, you know, I'll have enough to pay my car payment and all this, and it doesn't. And even though I'm not 100% sure if he has to pay a fee for that, but even then, like, doing that it's not great, and just thought I'd share that with people. If they have kids doing that, it's not a great way to manage that money.
Well, thank you very much for your call, Dina. I'll let you respond.
Yeah. In some ways, I mean, you can think, okay, yeah, having that money right after you work, that can be a good thing. The church actually teaches that, right? It is an injustice if an employer holds back the wages for an inappropriate time from their laborers. Now, I don't think maybe waiting a week or two is an unjust amount of time. So I don't think there's that problem there. But yeah, in some sense, if you want to think about just the paycheck as the regular thing, this is almost kind of like taking a loan out against your paycheck from your employer, and any type of debt, whether it's a car loan, credit card, student loan, any of that, it takes your money from the future and ties it up in the past, which kind of hamstrings us to respond to what God might be asking us to do in the present. So yes, I agree with you. It is something that probably should be avoided.
Jacqueline's in Sacramento, California. Jacqueline, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Okay, so for Jonathan, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 4 years. I did start working part-time from home. I have a 7 and 2-year-old. My husband has his own business. It's window tinting, and it's been struggling. So how can I guess just work as a team, as a family, to get out of debt relief? It's basically because of the business slowdown.
Yeah. So I'd say, again, having that plan in place, knowing what you want to do with your money as it's coming in. So making a budget, doing it together. You shouldn't ever be, okay, you know, if you do have one person at home, one person working, it shouldn't be, well, I go out and make the money, you can manage it. Or I went out and made the money and I will manage it. We do this as a team, right? We work together to becoming one, to be a family, to raise our children, to do all these important things together. And managing our money should be a team activity. So make sure that you are budgeting and doing it together, having that plan every month. Now, being a small business owner myself, I know sometimes that income can be a little irregular. So if that's the case, then just, of course, make sure you are budgeting, making your plan for how you're going to cover your necessities first, rent, clothing, food, shelter, transportation, the actual necessities. I would also include in that necessities, of course, giving, making sure that we are being generous, that we are contributing to the material needs of the church and helping out those less fortunate than ourselves, even if we are in a bit of a tight spot ourselves. Now, get that budget in place, and then that also will allow you to do things that maybe seem more natural to getting out of debt, of reducing some expenses, and also maybe trying to find some ways and coming up with some novel ideas to maybe increase business or increase some of the income that you guys are generating.
All right. Hey, Jacqueline, thank you. I'm going to move along just because I only have a few minutes left here. David in Illinois, good afternoon.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm fairly young, but not young enough. I'm perpetually in debt. I have credit card debt that is about $12,000. I have no financial education. I dropped out of college for a silly reason. It almost feels like an addiction. I can't, I have a 5-year-old daughter I have to take care of. I paid off $6,000 a couple years ago. I've added to that now.
Certainly. Well, David, thank you for calling in. I feel that pressure, man. I like how you said you're, not too old, but not too young. And when you have that kid, you got a kid coming in the picture, like, wow, you do wake up to a number of things. And good on you for understanding, where you're at, knowing the details, and saying, okay, what could I do? I need some sort of help. But yes, getting that plan in place, following a proven method. And I would like you to give your email, your information to somebody, the station here. You can take it down. I'll send you an email with some information, and I'll get you in Catholic Money Academy for a year on us.
That's fantastic. Sounds great. Hey, thank you very much. So grateful to have you here, Jonathan. Have a great day. Keep up your good work.
Thank you.
I'm Drew Mariani, out of time for the day. Again, if you missed any of the conversation, you can download the podcast, listen to it again. I'll be back tomorrow to give you another look at life you won't find anywhere else. Until then, God bless. Hey, like what you just heard? Then share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.